In just over a week, 2015 will be behind us. Pocketnow crew will be gearing up for CES, and the promise of a fresh new year full of smartphones will be upon us. But 2016 is not here just yet, as we settle in for the home stretch of the year that brought us Windows 10, a Force-sensitive iPhone, and not in the Star Wars, I almost said Trek sense, and Google's return to form for Nexus phones. We've still got a lot to talk about. That's right, all the great TV shows worth watching may be on hiatus for the holidays, but the mobile tech news machine didn't get that message. And even though it's only been a few days since we last fired up our microphones for the Pocketnow Weekly podcast, there's been a pleasantly surprising assortment of mobile happenings going on, and damn it if we aren't itching to share them all with you. So sit back, relax as we talk smartphones, tablets, wearables, and all that other fabulous portable electronics wizardry this week on episode 180 of the Pocketnow Weekly podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Shank, filling in for Michael Fisher here in beautiful Princeton, New Jersey, where it's dark as sin out and stormy, and at least it's hella warm. I am joined by Adam Dowd in the windy city. How are you, Adam?
It's the rainy city today, but I'm well, thank you.
I can certainly commiserate. And our producer, as always, Jules Wong, joining us from Boston, Massachusetts. More like Taxachusetts, am I right?
Yeah.
My girlfriend is sick of me saying that, but I don't care. It's a funny joke. It's never going to stop being funny.
I'm not so sure about that.
We can't do the Pocketnow Weekly podcast without the help of our sponsor friends. And this week, we're bringing you the podcast with the help of ScottyVest, the clothing company known for making the best pockets in the world. If you go to scottywest.com/pocketnow today, you can get 20% off with special coupon code, wait for it, POCKETNOW. Specialists in functional fashion for over 15 years, ScottyVest designs multi-pocket clothing that lets you carry and use all your gadgets and essentials. You can have a boatload of pockets, up to 42 in a single item of clothing, space for your smartphone, tablet, other gadgets, wallets and keys if you're into that old-fashioned stuff. You know that gadget dance you sometimes do in the moment of panic, frantically trying to find the cell phone or whatever it is you're looking for? Well, ScottyVest eliminates that stress with convenient icons designating what goes where in all the different pockets, so you know where everything is. There's even clear touch fabrics. You can see what's in there without having to paw your way through it, and the clothing's cleverly engineered to balance the load and keep you comfortable while giving you easy access to your gadgets. Check out the full line of clothing for men and women at ScottEvest, that's the letter E, vest.com/pocketnow, and get 20% off your order today. ScottyVest, check them out. Well, there's only a few of us here on the Pocketnow Weekly today, but it's all the more reason for you watchers to help join in. We're going to need your help to get this through without having our own voices, drown everything out into this monotony of, we'll be entertaining, who am I kidding? There's a couple ways we want you to contribute to the Pocketnow Weekly podcast, and you can do either of them. If you're watching us live in Google Hangouts, we'd love you to hop on over to that Q&A panel, which I'm going to try to figure out how to use. Michael's usually the one handling this. And if you have something we're talking about on the air that you would like to hear more about, enter your question in there, or comment, or whatever, just say hi. Other viewers will vote up their favorites. We'll do our best to answer some of the most popular ones on the air, or just the ones most germane to the conversation we're having. If you're listening to this later, or if you just have something sort of more long form, but keep it on point, you can shoot us an email, podcast@pocketnow.com. We're going to be answering a couple of those listener mails later on in the program, but if you send us one, we'll do our best to get to it on a future episode of the show. How do we get into the interface, Jules? That's a good question here. The Hangouts Q&A. For me, it's a convenient little thing over on the side here. I move my mouse over to the left. There's a little messaging-style window that says Q and A. That's the letters with an ampersand between them. I assume it's similar on your screen, viewers. If it's not, I would love to hear, so I know exactly what to tell y'all to look for. The YouTube browser, there's a pop-up. Jules tells us a pop-up to look for in YouTube if you're watching us there. But hopefully we will hear from you guys. I'm going to pop over now to see if anyone's there already. Yes.
Merry Christmas from the Netherlands.
Thank you. Tijale? Already murdering names. This is going to be
I'm going to go Tijal.
Tijal? Okay, a nice long episode with...
Yeah, why not?
Butchered names throughout.
Yes.
It's only been, 3 business days since we last brought you the Pocketnow Weekly. So going into this, I was worried we would not have enough to tell you about. But I am surprised. There's a lot going on here, as I mentioned in the intro. Let's dive right into it. We don't have a ton of time, and there's a lot to talk about.
We've got oodles.
Oodles of noodles.
Oodles. Yes.
Let's start this weekly news train rolling with Android here. And, speaking of Chicago and Adam here, Motorola has some new leaks out. I guess they don't have them out, but they got out anyway. Now, we're taking a look at what we've heard is the Next-Gen Moto X. We're tempted to call it the Moto X. I don't know if it'll be Play, Pure Edition, Special Sport, whatever it's going to be. But the next Moto X, we already saw a leak of it like a week or so back. I thought it was kind of weird looking. We talked about this in the previous podcast. Adam, did you see this leak when it first came out?
I didn't see the leak when it first came out. I'm clicking to it frantically as we speak.
It was a weird-looking guy. It had a big old circle on the back. I thought it was hacked together, maybe just a composite of shots of, it's a Frankenphone. It had these weird, really prominent little speaker grill holes, presumably speaker grill holes, but little holes on the back of it. It just didn't look right. It had this like Lumia 830-ish Oreo thing on there. It seemed wrong. It seemed weird. It seemed fake. And now we're kind of thinking maybe not, because there's this new leak out. This time it's an internal shot. It shows us some of the spacers on the back of the phone where components will go. There's no circuit board just yet, but there's this big old heat pipe in there.
Yeah, it's got plumbing.
Yeah, not liquid cooling, even though it's a pipe. I guess, is there liquid in this?
No.
Some sort of thermal compound designed to channel heat away from the super hot parts, the SOC, and move them to areas of the phone where it can dissipate safely. Granted, it's still into your hand. You can't get the heat away from the phone. It's still in there somewhere, but spread things out. There's not like one super hot spot that really gets annoying there.
Man, I just found that leak, and damn, that looks ghetto. Wow. All right. Yeah. Good luck with that, Moto.
Right, and I would have thought that this isn't real, but now look closely at this new leak here with the heat pipe, and you see over on the right, we still have this grid of, 16 little holes there. And Christ, as I look closely, they don't even seem like they're spaced evenly. It's weird looking. There's no obvious speaker there yet. I can sort of see where one might fit, but the commenters have had a field day with this, talking about it might be like ventilation holes for the heat pipe system. I don't see exactly how that would work, but it's an idea. It's so
definitely
big.
An idea.
Stuff's going to get stuck in there, right?
Yeah, yeah. And you know what else I'm learning is that Continuum is not going to make a very good podcast companion. So we're going to abandon that particular ship and move on.
I feel like
anyway,
the subtitle of this podcast should have been like failures of Windows 10. I guess Windows 10 Mobile specifically. We're going to get to that a little bit later, but Continuum's not playing nicely for you?
No.
What do you have hooked up to it? The 950 or the XL or
the 950? So, and it's I'm trying to go from like you're like, oh, but looking at this other page with the pipe on it, I'm like clicking the back button, nothing's happening. Clicking the back button, nothing's happening.
Why would it be responsive? We don't need that in computers.
Well, I actually talked about that in an editorial today. Spoiler alert. But anyway,
before we move too far away from that, we've heard the new Moto X could have a Snapdragon 820 in there. Certainly the highest end of the 2016 Snapdragon lineup, but hopefully, we've heard it shouldn't be nearly as thermally problematic as the 810 was. So it seems a little weird, why are we getting a heat pipe on this? But I think that, like I said a little earlier, I think there's a good reason for this. Even if it's not running super hot, like the phone wouldn't function without it, it still can make it a little bit more comfortable to hold. You're doing high-intensity gaming or whatnot, really pushing it to its limits. It's just it keeps it from getting that one little hot point that's burning your fingies. Ooh, and also one commenter pointed out, I didn't notice this when initially posting this, but there's these little seals, it looks like, around a lot of the, presumably where components will go. Maybe looking at some nice waterproofing on this guy.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So,
a lot to look forward to.
Yeah.
Continuing on in Android here, Adam, why don't you tell us about this? Have you seen this Google Next-Gen messaging thing?
I have. I'm still trying to figure out what it's for, but I've seen it.
Damn good question. So Wall Street Journal published this, I think, yesterday, and I read this story once or twice through, and it seemed like a joke, a goof. I double-checked to make sure it wasn't backdated to April 1st, but it's weird sounding. So what we're talking about here is Google Hangouts, supposedly, maybe not even Hangouts, but Google could be working on a next-gen messaging app. And the big hook to this thing is supposed to be artificial intelligence-powered chat bots. Like robots you talk to. Now granted, other messaging systems have had their own interactive bots of various forms here. And we've even heard about Facebook prepping something like this for Messenger, where you could like ask it questions, and if it didn't know, it would try to answer them itself. If it didn't know, it would pass it off to a live human operator who would give you your answers. But supposedly Google's looking to have some sort. It sounds like taking Google Search, like the voice-powered Google Now stuff, wrapping this up into, I don't know if it's going to be all text-based or maybe voice, but putting this into a messaging system so you like text it, hey, find me a nice place to eat around here, and you'll get a message back saying, okay, here are some restaurants in your area.
But isn't that what Google's for? I mean,
that's what I don't get.
Who does that? I mean, don't get me wrong. Messenger apps, SMS apps on Android are kind of like Twitter apps on WebOS. There's a crap load of them, and they all have their pluses and minuses. So, I mean, I can kind of see that this is an area that Google has left largely unaddressed. But I don't think chatbots are really going to be the answer, unless, of course, they're for lonely people.
Oh, but that's not what I get from this. I mean, it's not supposed to be like a Turing test thing where it's trying to prove it's a real person. It's like, it reminds me of.
But then I don't see the point.
Yeah, so that's a good question. What is the point of this? It's being presented as a way to draw users into this messaging system because right now, even though Hangouts is baked into Android, it has a lot of competition from third-party things, especially Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp, stuff like that. And Google needs some, big draw to get people to use its service because unless your friends are on there, you're not going to use it. Unless there's some really compelling feature in there, you're not going to use it. So I guess it's supposed to be, if you go there for your searches, maybe you'll stay there and talk to your friends.
Yeah, or maybe if you're always on there chatting with your friends, you just want a quick way to bang off a quick search. I don't know. I don't see it, but
I guess maybe if they made this like a core feature of Android, where this messaging was built in, so instead of having your Google search bar or something, it was this persistent like chat thing. But it reminds me of. Do you remember I forget the name of the service. It used to be something where you would send a text message to it with any question, and they would fire back with an answer. I mean, it's basically what we do now.
There's been a couple of those too.
Yeah, it sounds like sort of the next-gen version of that, only AI-driven. There's talk about Google maybe opening this up to third-party developers and having them make their own chat bots, which would be, I guess, specific to certain tasks. Like maybe a video game developer could have something where you have you're trying to get through a level. Instead of calling the Nintendo Pro Tips line, flashback to 90s there, running up your 1-900 numbers, you would just like text the Nintendo chatbot. It would tell you how to kill all your friends in Super Smash Brothers. I don't know.
In Super Smash Brothers. Okay, I was hoping you were going to finish that sentence. So
no, don't kill your friends just over a video game. That's
gotcha.
In trouble there.
So I think we can wrap this one up and say we don't get it.
Yeah, there's no word of a timeline here when Google might be hoping to do this. I'm really curious to see where this is coming from. Yeah, I have a feeling the reporter might have heard some real tidbit of information that Google's actually working on something here, and we just don't have the full picture. Because clearly, Adam and I seem to be in agreement here. This just sounds weird. We don't get it. Speaking of things Google's up to, and this one seems a lot more plausible, sort of a next-gen two-factor authentication appears to be in testing now. There's been reports from users on Reddit who have gotten invited to try this out, a system that uses your smartphone to authenticate you for Google logins across its ecosystem, across phones, tablets, and your PC. And the way this appears to work is you get it set up on your phone. It has to be presumably it only works with certain phones. There's mention of compatible models. We don't have the complete list, but presumably a recent model, Lollipop or Marshmallow, needs to have the secure lock screen in place. So just like Android Pay in that regard. But once you're authenticated on your phone, this sort of works as the hub of which you authenticate in other devices. So you go to a computer, go on your laptop or something, or even a friend's laptop, you're logging in for the first time, type in your email there. It wouldn't even ask you for a password on the device. Instead, it would just give you a notification on your phone, hey, someone's trying to log into your account on so-and-so, do you want to authenticate this? And you'd hit yes, you'd hit no, and go from there. I don't know, do you think it sounds like a good idea, Adam?
I might be off here, but I think Microsoft actually has a very similar system in place. But Microsoft
We were
uses it
talking about this.
as a two-factor authentication, where instead of sending a text message, it'll send you, an app, a notification to an app saying, is this legit? So, I guess Google's just trying to remove the password from it, which seems less secure to me.
I don't know. I kind of think more secure. Like, I'm thinking, what if you're on like a public computer? Maybe you don't know if there's like a keylogger in the keyboard or something. You don't trust the machine. You want to be using it temporarily. This allows you to authenticate without giving any of that secure information to the possibly untrusted machine.
I suppose, but the point of two-factor authentication is to stop that to begin with. If they have their username and password, who cares? They still don't get the code. So.
Oh yeah.
But I'm also wondering what happens if I'm, at work and I leave my phone in my coat pocket. And I try to log in, and I don't have my phone with me. So
Google has thought of this. In the system currently in testing, it advises users that you can always enter your password in as a backup. If, say, you don't have your phone, there's maybe no reception, your battery died. Have other options to kind of like a fail-safe. But then again, I'm wondering, does this make this less secure? You always hear about people getting hacked not by someone figuring out their password, but by figuring out their security questions. It's easy to.
What about cloned phones too? I wonder.
Does that even happen anymore?
I don't know. Well, they do it in movies.
Back in the AMP day. Oh.
Or something. Yeah,
but
I don't know.
It's in testing now. Hopefully, we'll hear more about this as Google rolls it out to more and more users. I think it's a neat idea. I question exactly when people would use it, but especially if you're on the go a lot, you don't necessarily have access to your own computer all the time, but you do have your phone on you, this might be something worth checking out.
It's the type of thing where it needs to be bulletproof, but if it is, then, hey, nothing wrong with it.
And this is exactly why Google's requiring a phone with a secure lock screen there. I kind of like the idea, especially if you have a phone with a fingerprint scanner. This sort of ties your Google login to your fingerprint rather than a password at all.
Sure, 100% agree on that. So
biometrics are fun.
They are. Do you have anything with biometrics on it yet? Like a fingerprint scanner or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
My laptop. My laptop does, and I do use that for login on that.
Really? So you're the one. Okay.
It's really not graceful, but
right.
Especially because Windows boots up and there's this like 5-second lag before the fingerprint software loads, and I'm swipe. No, nothing. It's not good.
Yeah. So
let's keep this Google train rolling here. We've been talking so much about sales over the past few weeks. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then just week after week of getting your last-minute holiday shopping done. A lot of hardware deals there. We talked about a bunch of them last week on the podcast. This week, we're not talking so much about hardware deals as software stuff. And Google's year-end holiday sale has come to the Play Store. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Some of it not great deal, some of them better. Have you looked at any of these, Adam?
I need to browse through it. That's actually probably on my list for tomorrow.
There's a lot. Let's see. We've got half-off albums on Google Play Music. 75% off video rentals. A bunch of apps on sale. And some good stuff I probably would pick up if I didn't have already. Monument Valley is stupid cheap. A lot of them are like 10 cents or just $1. Minecraft Story Mode, if you're looking to get into that action. The sales on newsstand subscriptions, some books on sale, a lot of stuff. Check it all out. Go to Google Play on your PC, phone, tablet, whatever, and check some of those out. Will not last long. You probably have at least till the end of the year to take advantage of those. Let's talk a little bit about hardware.
Let's talk
Android spectrum here. For some reason, phablets are big all of a sudden. No pun intended there. We got a couple new ones that just launched. ZTE with its Axon Max, 6-inch, full HD, big old battery, 4140 milliamp hours, solid mid-ranger, Qualcomm Snapdragon 617 processor, some big 16 and 13 megapixel cameras, and a price that's not the cheapest thing around, but pretty good for what it looks like you get, the equivalent of around $430 for the Chinese market here. We haven't heard anything about this guy coming to the West yet, though, but CES is just around the corner, and ZTE could certainly bring this guy around, show it off a little more, get some buzz going.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll be hearing more about this guy. I think maybe the more interesting of the phablet launches we just saw literally just happened. Samsung and the Galaxy A9.
Yes.
Rumors have been pointing to this guy coming out for a while now, and I had to double check this because Samsung just released a bunch of new Galaxy A series phones, a new A3, A5, A7. Confusingly, the 2016 and not 2015 models, because we already got those at the beginning of the year. But we did not have a first-gen A9. I think this is the first time this phone has ever come out with this name, and it's a pretty solid-looking piece of kit. Again, it's a lot like the ZTE. It's got the 6-inch Full HD display. This one's an OLED. Processor's a bit beefier, though. It's got that new Snapdragon 652. Previously, the 620, which is pretty solid. Octa-core, 64-bit, new Adreno GPU on there. We don't know a lot about where Samsung's intending to send this guy yet. Presumably, like the other Galaxy A's, it's focused not so much on the U.S. market as it is markets in the East. But we know it just introduced it in China, and hopefully we'll be hearing more about this guy in the weeks to come.
It's interesting because both of these phones have the the 6-inch 1080p panel and the Snapdragon 6XX processor and 13-ish megapixel camera, I think, on both of them. It's just none of these are really screaming mid-range specs to me, except for the processor. I'm just kind of wondering where our criteria is.
1080p isn't mid-range these days?
Well, I mean, maybe it is, but then you get back into that question of, how much screen resolution do we really need? I'm just wondering, maybe these don't look so bad for mid-rangers, actually.
No, absolutely not. And I think a lot of users have been now moving away from the flagship phones and to the mid-rangers. Sure, you can spend a couple $100 more and get this really premium polished model, but if you can save that much money and the phone you get, it's no longer about making compromises. You're getting hardware that's maybe not even last year's, but like 6 months old is now considered the mid-range.
I only wish
for your money.
I only wish I'd seen this story come out a little bit sooner, because then I could have trolled Cliff Thomas by telling him he'd get a Galaxy A9 before he'd get his HTC One A9.
Jules mentions Blue 1X 2016, 1080p, $150. That's friggin' nuts.
Jeez.
And we'll be seeing a lot of these guys at CES, I'm sure. The flagships might hold off for a little later in the year. I'm not expecting a ton of super high-end action, but mid-rangers galore.
Yeah, but neither of them have a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, so...
It's still pretty good. The A9's got 4,000, which is nothing to shake a stick at. I mean, even with a big screen, that'll get you through a day, no problemo. I'm hoping.
I'm going to be carrying the Blue Energy 2 at CES just because of the 5,000 milliamp hour battery.
I'm just going to carry a car battery strapped to my back with an inverter, and then I'm going to go from there.
There you go.
The lines get too big. I'm just have a cattle prod and shock my way to the front. It'll be spectacular.
I like it. Good strategy.
Before we wrap up Android here, I wanted to touch in with one of my favorite developments in smartphones: modular technology. It sucks that you can't fix your smartphone without having, tiny hands and a giant magnifying glass, and worry you're going to be destroying the thing even worse in the process here. So most of us, we take our phones. Most of us probably don't even get them fixed. We break our phone, we get rid of it. We move on to the next newer model. But Fairphone thinks that's not the best way to be doing things. It launched its Fairphone 2 earlier this year with the idea that it can help reduce electronic waste by making the phone built out of modular components. It isn't so much like Project Aura, where you're supposed to customize things, but instead it allows you to replace bits as they go bad. So, we always like seeing a phone with an external or removable battery, because not only does it allow you to swap out the battery without waiting for the phone to fully charge, just pop a new fresh one in there, but over time, batteries, they're chemical things, they lose their capacity. So it's very nice to be able to, a year down the line, switch it out for a brand new, running at the top of its game component.
Or even a bigger battery in some cases.
Or even a bigger battery. I love those ridiculous ones that make the phone 3 times as thick and like 15,000 milliamp hours. Why not?
Yeah. Oh, it's preaching to the choir.
But Fairphone 2, it's now shipping to its initial backers. It's a bit expensive for what you get. I'm just talking about what makes a phone mid-range. This guy's looking at 1080p display, 2 gigs of RAM, Snapdragon 801, just like the OnePlus X, which is an older processor. It's still pumping along, and you probably, unless you're using, talking about gaming like in the heat pipe on the Moto X, unless you're really running high-end software like that, an 801 will probably get you by just fine. But it's a lot for what they're asking a lot for what you're getting there. This guy's going for, where is it here, 530 euros. Which it's flagship level pricing there. But again, this is a phone you're sort of paying for the warm, fuzzy feeling it gives you. Not only is it are these components replaceable so that you're not making electronic waste, but the components themselves are ethically sourced. All the capacitors, these guys are going all out, down to Africa, getting their tantalum from mines that don't exploit labor or they don't hurt the environment. So you pay a little more, but you can sleep at night. So
that's very close to $600 US. I don't know. So.
Before we move on to other platforms here, I'm going to take a look in here at Q&A, see anything nice going on here. Let's see. Windows 10 fan, do you plan to upgrade the Pocketnow website to a more modern 2016 look? I'm not sure exactly what I'm supposed to be talking about here, but I will say stay tuned is all I'm willing to offer there. I think
wheels are in motion.
You will be pleasantly surprised. And what are you talking about? It's modern looking. I know. I really like the Pocketnow layout, but I think I just hate change. Windows 10 fan also wants to know, will we be making a Pocketnow mobile app? I'd like to first point out our Pocketnow mobile website is optimized for smartphone viewing. I prefer the desktop view on smartphones, though. I may be in the outside there. But no, I do not believe we have a standalone mobile app in the works right now. But again, I don't want to say too much about any redesign plans, but I don't think you'd be wrong in presuming that would extend to the mobile side as well. So again, stay tuned.
Well, we were thinking about it, but then we'd have to make a BlackBerry one, so we just decided.
Right, or else it'd be discriminating because otherwise everyone has to make a BlackBerry. Yeah.
We are an equal opportunity website, so we have to make Symbian and WebOS, and it's rabbit hole. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. Bad joke.
Let's see. Kamal asks, where's Mikey Mike? I don't know. He's doing his holiday thing like everybody else in the world here. And Adam and I will be doing shortly, Jules as well. But we're doing things a little early, trying to put aside the end of the week for our special time with our loved ones. So
let's be honest. He's just gotten lazy. Ever since he found out that Steven and I can do this, he doesn't care anymore.
I mean, why bother when we're hitting every point like we are now?
I know.
Killing it. Alvin Sui asks, do you think we'll see 256 gigabytes of internal storage in devices in the future? God, I wish we would. I am probably the biggest proponent of... Clifton is asking a question. Oh, sorry, Jules, you're distracting me. Yes, we will get to that. We haven't seen as many high storage devices out now as I would like to. Considering all the other places that components have been pushing limits, screen resolution is probably the best there. We've been sort of hanging behind in internal storage. I think it's a disservice. Certainly, I love having all the media I want on my phone straight away, not having to rely on the cloud or streaming services. I just popped a 64 gigabyte micro SD card in my brand new OnePlus X. I can't wait till I get a 128 gigabyte one because 64 gigs is not enough storage for a boy like me. 256, awesome, but
I agree with that, and that actually kind of makes me jot down an editorial idea for Tony. What is up with that? I mean, everything else has gotten better and better and better. We've got more RAM, we've got more power, we've got more battery, we've got what is up? Internal storage.
The sad thing is,
I deal with internal storage. Sorry.
The sad thing is, I get it because most users do not have this need. They certainly don't want a phone that's like 8 gigabytes with only 2 gigabytes free when you get it. But in the 16, especially the 32 gig space, that's more than enough for installing your basic apps, maybe even a big one or two, maybe even having some media on there, a couple albums. And for most users, I feel like this satisfies their needs. That the people that need 64 or 128 are the exceptions, not the rules. I'm gonna
say Windows Phone brings 256 gigabytes first.
That's not a bad idea, especially people using Continuum.
Continuum, that's right. That's
desktop placement there.
That's the money right there. That's gonna happen. You can write it down, December 23rd. Mm-hmm. I said that.
Yeah, but certainly the flash chip components are out there. They're not physically that much bigger than the 16, 128 gigabyte ones. It's just a matter of demand. I don't think it's there just yet. And manufacturers have gotten used to be able to charging a premium for these. Certainly, it costs a lot more to move from a 64 to a 128 gigabyte phone as it does compared to like going from a 64 gigabyte to 120 gigabyte micro SD card.
Right.
So they kind of realized if we had these big ass storage on phones, we would have to, or we would be able to charge a lot more. Consumers would expect it, and maybe that's not very tenable. Yeah, let's pick one more. Clifton had a question here. Jules points out, what are we asking Santa for Christmas? Adam, why don't you start here?
This year I am asking specifically for Amazon gift cards because the only thing I want for Christmas.
Lame.
I know, but the only thing I want for Christmas is like a $700 camera. So I don't see any of my family getting that for me. So that's pretty much what I'm asking for. But if you're asking like of what devices are out there right now that I would want to ask for. I would go, and this is probably in the same realm of realistic expectations of a camera, but I would probably go with a Pixel tablet.
Ooh.
So just because the Nexus 9, man, with Marshmallow is no good.
You don't like it?
No, it's awful. The Marshmallow killed my Nexus 9.
No, I don't have any problems with it.
Waking it up
to 601.
Then again, you never use a lock screen, so maybe that's the part of it. But I mean, it's like I will wake up my tablet, I will draw my pattern to wake up the tablet, and it will sit there for a minute until it times out again and turns off again, and I'll turn it back on and it says, "Oh, well, you need to put in your pattern." It's just like, so no, I definitely.
Yeah, I used to have problems with the double tap to wake. I think I had them more with Lollipop. Marshmallow seems to be pretty good with not dying on me.
Now, that being said, I did get an update recently which helped clear up some stuff. But anyway, Pixel is really nice. So, although, all right. So
think on that a little.
You go. Yeah.
I am not. Geez, I don't really want anything for Christmas, and hardware-wise, I'm pretty set now.
I can't say Amazon gift cards, but you can say I don't want anything.
No, I don't. I want to get through CES with my sanity intact.
What about your health?
Yeah, everyone tells me I'm going to get super sick. I think I have a very strong constitution. I'm always like low-level sick, so it stops me from getting super sick, but I'm very interested to see what wonderful bugs I pick up. So yeah, happy and healthy New Year is what I want. That's a lame answer, I know.
That's so sweet.
We have been doing these Q&As for a while now. We are running short on time, have to hop back into news here.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot more to discuss. Let's shift gears over to Microsoft land here and talk Windows 10 Mobile, which, man, has been just taking a beating lately. And the commenters have been pointing out they seem to think that we're really hating on Windows 10 Mobile here. We don't hate it. We're just kind of disappointed.
We're not hating it. We just took off the rose-colored glasses. I mean, it's Windows 10 Mobile specifically is a beta test. It really is. I mean, it's so buggy, and there's just so much that's just, man. I read over Adam Lane's review, and we collaborated on it a very little bit over the weekend, and he and I were on the same page with every single point. It's just it's buggy. It doesn't behave in a way that you would expect. Some of the settings are still a mess. I mean, I still don't know where NFC is. Turn it on. I always search for it, and it always says, "Well, here's NFC." And so then I say, okay, great, but where is it? So I don't have to search for it the next time, and it never tells me. It doesn't do little things that other platforms
It's frustrating because we heard all the big announcements back in the early part of the year. It seemed to have so much promise. Microsoft, it finally seemed that the company got what it needed to do, not just on desktop and mobile individually, but as this cohesive vision for how products would work across device form factors. Sounded really great. And certainly when we saw the company testing things as early as it did, it's an unprecedented level to which it's bringing users on to try things out early, not just on the desktop, but also on mobile. We've had the Insider program for Windows 10 Mobile going since like February, I think. All this time you think would be enough to work out these little issues, but no, there's just these glitches throughout. And it's been very frustrating. I mean, to be fair, they're doing a lot new here. This is kind of a big undertaking, but Microsoft, it's still a giant in the industry.
Yeah,
and
but
it's hard to see it stumble like this.
But one of the big things that it has going for it is, the community of fans that are around it.
Yes, this is true.
Which is, and Michael had a wonderful piece that he wrote about this, talking about the fan base of Windows and how sometimes they can be vocal to their detriment. But in general, the Windows community is actually really fantastic. It's almost up to a level of WebOS. The WebOS community.
That's the high bar.
That's my high bar. So, but yeah, the Windows community is really super helpful with trying to, get things figured out. Like I've been tweeting about the Lumia 950 for, a few weeks now, and every time I run into, a roadblock, I'll get, 5 or 6 people, chiming in.
Nice. Even though there are all these problems out there, there are users who have been running into this as well. They can offer you some advice on maybe how they found workarounds until Microsoft works out all the kinks itself. Right,
which is great, and so it's one of the shining beacons of being a Windows 10 mobile fan is having that much support.
For as much hate there is between platforms, there's as many fanboys as there are there. Smartphones in general, and smartphone users, they're good people. They're willing to help you out when you run into a jam.
Yeah, indeed. Unless, of course, you misidentify something in an article, in which case they will tear your face off.
Oh, God, no. You are doomed. Just give up all hope, ye who enter here.
Anyway.
Yeah, so things are struggling over on Windows 10 Mobile. Jules tells me there's an update. Wait, there's an update headed out now? I thought they were done with those for the year. Well, updates coming one way or another, sooner and or later, especially for the existing Windows Phone models. Adam, you just went dark on us there. Oh, there we go.
Oh, yeah.
Properly. Yeah, Windows 10 Mobile updates for existing Lumia is pushed back till next year, hopefully by then. And I don't blame Microsoft for holding things back until things are working as smooth as they need to. So keep the faith and keep watching for what happens there. Over on Android, Microsoft is having its own problems. It started bringing Cortana cross-platform earlier this year. First testing in Android, then in iOS, and a few weeks back we had the full launches of Cortana for both platforms. And everyone loves hot word support. You can just start talking to your phone and it listens, does what you want it to. When it works, it's lovely, but Cortana, it's not working so well. And in fact, it's working so unwell, Microsoft had just turned it off entirely. You used to be able to say, hey Cortana to your phone, I believe you're on the home screen or within the app itself. The only platform-wide stuff was with the promised Cyanogen OS integration, which I'm not sure we ever saw come out. I hadn't been following that. But Microsoft, it was causing problems with the microphone on the phone in general. Like users wouldn't be able to make phone calls because Cortana had locked itself onto the microphone there. So until they can get that worked out, that's no longer functioning in Android, which is a big detriment. I wonder how many Android users are actually using Cortana to begin with.
I'm downloading it as we speak.
Yeah? Okay. Without hot word support, but still.
Yeah, well, you can't get everything.
And before we move away from Windows 10, so far we've only had 3 Windows 10 mobile models from Microsoft, launching the Lumia 950, 950 XL, and the, 550? Yeah. But there's supposedly been some more on the horizon. Some of them we heard were getting canceled, some have been uncanceled, and we've been talking about, or looking forward to, the Lumia 650 for a while now. Now we haven't seen much in the way of real leaks of the hardware here, but the guys over at Windows Central have got their hands on supposedly some internal slides showing off the phone. For one reason or another, they weren't able to share the original pics, but they commissioned these lovely, and I mean capital L, lovely renders of what this hardware is supposed to look like. Man, if it looks half as good as these, I think a lot of Lumia 950 owners will be hitting themselves in the foot. I don't know how idioms work, but they'll be very upset because this 650, it's a classy looking phone.
Nonsense. We're going to be happy for the platform.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what's going to happen.
Nice metal trim on this guy. It's supposed to be positioned as an affordable phone for business users, and of course with Continuum and Microsoft's focus on enterprise, business will continue to be a big focus of the platform going forward. I am really excited for this guy. We've heard that this phone may be coming out in the next month or two. Microsoft may be looking to introduce it sometime around MWC, which is in late February this year. And like I said, if this looks half as good as these renders make it out to be, Microsoft could have something really special on its hands here. Okay, one more platform to talk about. Oh, we could talk about WebOS briefly. Did you see this, Adam? That WebOS is moving to, I think, 3.0.
No, what? What?
I mean,
No,
it doesn't do
what?
you any good. It's just for LG smart TVs, but
Oh, okay.
it's nice to hear that it's still living on in one form or the other. I don't know.
I
It warms the
guess.
cockles of my heart. I
Yeah,
just like saying
it's okay. I mean,
cockles.
it's one of those things where maybe the guts of it are WebOS, but it's not the soul, the
WebOS, you
soul of
changed,
WebOS.
man. You used to be cool. You
And,
used to be mobile. What happened to you?
no. Then they got all stuck up in those TVs, and
Yeah, well,
yeah, but anyway.
change is happening all across platforms. And one change that's been coming to, well, it just started coming to smartphones is pressure sensitivity. Apple had it Force Touch. Well, it first started on the Apple Watch, now 3D Touch on the iPhones. And we've been seeing it. Who was the other guy who did this? Was it ZTE or Huawei? I'm sure Jules will shout it out. But word is that we're about to see this sort of pressure sensitivity start coming to every smartphone. Well, not everyone, but a substantial majority of smartphones starting next year. As companies, call them copycats or what you will, but integrating their own systems for pressure-sensitive screens, and presumably we'll start seeing more and more apps taking advantage of these. The report we looked at said, well, like 1 in 4 smartphones launched next year may have some degree of this functionality. I've yet to actually try this for myself. I'm not an iPhone guy.
Yeah,
Have you
me
tried this,
either.
Adam? No.
I have not, so no
So,
success for me.
and it's difficult for me to appreciate the usefulness of it, not having done this myself. But already I find
Yeah,
touchscreen interactions a bit tricky. How you have this, position and input are tied into one. You can't, point to something on screen without also saying I'm tapping on this. So we've had like long presses, double taps, all these different ways to try to signal how we're trying to interact with the phone. Will this pressure sensitivity giving us one more really improve things? I don't know. I'm really curious to see how they implement this.
yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where force touch to me sounds a lot like long tapping, but at the same time, it
Yeah.
seems like it's a little bit more useful than what you typically get out of a long tap. So I definitely want to try it out. So
This
maybe we get Michael to bring a 6S to CES so we can play with it for.
And I can understand how it's easier to explain to new users. I mention this all the time on the podcast, but I got my mom her first smartphone a few months back by now, and it was very difficult. She'd never interacted with a touchscreen device before, so it was very difficult to explain to her how she should be pressing on things. And
Right.
invariably, she would press too shortly, press too long, and the phone, the timing is very sensitive because the app has to respond to short taps, long taps differently. I can imagine it being much easier to explain to someone, just touch this lightly versus, smush your finger on there. It's maybe a more natural way to tap differently.
I think that's even more subjective, but
Yeah.
I'm currently fighting with this dual touch thing, and I've got a new MacBook, and that has
Yeah.
that multiple layer of touch thing, and I'm
Oh, so
fighting
you're
with that.
familiar with this?
I don't know if it's the same thing,
Ah.
but I don't like it.
No, no, sir. I don't like it.
Nope, that will not do.
But
So
again,
anyway,
it's new, and maybe it's not as fully fleshed out as it could be. So as platforms start to learn to take better advantage of it, and I really think that as app developers start building apps that don't just have this as a gimmick, but if they've had time to work with it, they understand that how users naturally will want to use this. Maybe 6 months from now, we're going to start seeing a renaissance of forced touch and its variants becoming a lot more useful. So I think the idea of more hardware getting this can only be a good thing. So hopefully that'll pop up in some of next year's most popular phones.
yeah.
Speaking of next year's most popular phones, of course the iPhone is going to be super popular. iPhone 7, we've heard rumors here and there about what to expect, and there's this really, to my mind, kind of scary one that popped up a while back, suggesting the phone could drop its lightning connector. Now, there's a couple of stories that came out this week that seem to add a bit of credence to that. Well, one's adding credence to it, one's just sort of expanding on the idea a little more. First, we heard that Apple is looking to possibly add new high-quality recordings to its streaming options in Apple Music. So not necessarily higher bandwidth, which it would have to be, but higher bit rate and higher sampling rate. So we're talking 96 kilohertz, 24-bit audio. CD quality probably sounds super good to most of you, but there are those audiophiles out there who can appreciate a maybe higher sampled recording. Problem is, the DAC on the iPhone there isn't really equipped to output this sort of thing, but if you plug in a pair of super fancy digital headphones through the phone's Lightning port, well, sure, they could have their own DAC and be capable of delivering this sort of audio in the full quality that Apple's streaming it in. And so this rumor is one thing, and then that sort of adds on to the theory that, well, if Apple were to go Lightning only, this would certainly be a new draw for manufacturers who wanted to start producing Lightning-equipped digital headphones. We already saw one. It was ridiculously expensive, but they're out there. Next year could bring us a lot more.
Yeah, I get the feeling if Apple does go this route, that those headphones would probably start getting a lot cheaper really quick.
Oh, sure. And invariably, companies would release adapters that would give you a little dongle to plug in your existing analog headphone to.
Wouldn't that be great?
Speaking of, was it the Palm? What's the phone where you need an adapter just to use the headphones? The Veer, the magnetic one?
Yep.
Yeah, and look how well that ended up.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
But yeah, a designer whipped up some renders of what the iPhone 7 might look like if Apple indeed went in this direction of dropping the headphone jack. Because right now it's one of the thicker components on there. Remember that ridiculous rumor we heard that they would slice the top and bottom off the round connector?
Yeah.
Gladly not going there, but
speaking of which, by the way, here's a Veer power.
Hey, look what you got!
Yep, that's a Veer power connector. Yep.
Why is that 5 pins?
I don't know. It was data and power and stuff.
Okay.
So that was the data port as well. That was everything.
But we saw these renders. Someone whipped up some pictures of what an iPhone 7 that dropped its headphone jack could look like, and it is preposterously thin. These are, just speculation based on the size of the devices, but if we got a new 4.7-inch iPhone 7, it could be as thin as, 5.2 millimeters, which is nearly 2 millimeters thinner than the current gen, I believe. Yeah, because it got a little thicker this year. And again, Apple, it's still living down the shame of Bendgate, so you have to wonder if making the phone this thin would really be a great idea. And of course, we have commenters chiming in. Well, okay, make the phone, or save space by getting rid of the headphone jack, sure, but what if we, just put in a bigger battery to make up for it? Wouldn't that be really nice too?
Nobody does that. Nobody's interested in that.
I know. But yeah, take a look at these renders. They are some beautiful looking things. Whether or not Apple goes this way or not, I don't know. Certainly when the company dropped the 30-pin connector and went full Lightning, that was controversial in and of itself. I don't know that this move would necessarily be any more controversial, and Apple has the clout to get away with this sort of thing. If it wants to do it, it's going to do it. We'll just have to live with it.
Oh, absolutely. Once again, as I've said many times over the years, if there is one company that can do that and get away with it, it's Apple.
Boy, howdy. All right, that is it for the news here. Jules, do we have a sound effect going into listener mail? I'm on this podcast every week. I don't really have that much awareness of. Oh, it's a bing bong. That's what the bing bong's for.
Yeah. There
Sound
we go.
effects. Adam, why don't you pull up that first listener mail there and read it for us?
All right. So this email comes to us from Robert Rose now, and says so many new pay services here or on the way, like Walmart, Samsung, Apple.
And Target.
I would love. And which? Oh, Target, yeah. I'm someone who loved the wallet/Android Pay and was disappointed with the lack of support by retailers. Sure. Then came Samsung Pay. I use it everywhere. Do you think that Samsung has the right idea and everything else is a waste? Or is it grasping at an aged technology and I should support NFC in the future? Always a pleasure listening to the podcast. Thank you. I actually have a lot of thoughts on this.
Do tell.
Well, I'm a purveyor of mobile payments. I've used every mobile payment that has, or I should say I've used the big ones, the Samsung Pay and Apple Pay and Android Pay and all those, and I love them. I love them to death.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, there's a spoiler alert editorial coming out about mobile payments very soon. I am in favor of any new mobile payment system that comes out. I used to think that it'd be better if we just had the one standard, the one Samsung Pay or whatever. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought the more that we can get users used to the idea of paying stuff for their phones, the better off we're going to be, because we'll work out the standards later. Let's just get people using it right now. And if Target and Walmart can do that by integrating it within their apps, so much the better. Because I mean, you're going to be there. You're going to be using the app. If you're a Cartwheel, you're going to be using their stupid Cartwheel app.
What the hell's Cartwheel?
It's a Target thing. It's really stupid. Don't ever use it.
Okay.
It's a bad experience. But anyway, if you're already in there and you're already using it, and you could just wave your phone or point your phone at something and pay, that's going to be better, because that's going to get the idea in people's heads. I can buy stuff with my phone, and it's super easy to do.
Sure. More directly to the question here, I think that Samsung had the right idea with this magnetic stripe emulation, especially with NFC. Seeing that is great. It's available. People always talk about not being able to pay with these things. I found it's available more often than not, at least in retailers in my area.
I'm going to say about 30%.
That's it? Okay. But this fallback to having magnetic stripe support is, I think, a huge boon for Samsung. Unfortunately, it kind of got here too late. I can't deny that. Especially with the hardware in the Galaxy S6 and Samsung not enabling Samsung Pay until months after its release. Now the US is in the middle of this move to chip and, not PIN, but signature. And it's not inconceivable that we're going to see magnetic stripes in general start going the way of the Dodo pretty soon.
Right.
If a year or two ago, that would have been fantastic.
Yep.
But of the options available now, that Samsung lets you do this, and it has NFC support, it's a best of both worlds.
Yes, absolutely.
If you have a choice between a Samsung phone that does this and another manufacturer's, everything else being equal, and you really like mobile payments, by all means, go with something that supports Samsung Pay.
Yeah. Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. So Samsung has got a good head start in this particular arena with that MST, but it is a little bit too late, and it's going to start not working in more often than not.
Enjoy it while you can, fellas.
Exactly.
Speaking of great things, and maybe don't always work or not always available when we like them to, our next listener mail here comes from Lucas, who writes, "Hi, Pocketnow team. Longtime listener, have a question for the podcast that's really bugging me. What's going on with wireless charging? Qi charging in particular. Is it dead? Over 2 years ago, I got my Nexus 5 and started using wireless charging, but by now I have a Qi charger in my car, one on my desk, and one beside my bed. And due to this, I don't have to touch a micro USB charging cable for a long time now, and that's amazing. But now in 2015, it seems like only a few Lumia devices, the Galaxy S6, end up getting wireless charging. And it's disappointing the new Nexus phones haven't had this. What do you think's going on? Is it because of quick charging, or because not enough people are using it in general? I think this is sad. I really loved wireless charging. I used it occasionally on my Nexus 5, but I didn't leave it plugged in all the time because I worry about it being a jewel thief and wasting a little bit of power when not in use, always sending out that signal that it's there. I don't know if that's why people don't use it, and certainly we've seen manufacturers, some of the bigger phones this year didn't have it, other ones did. I think technology, though, it's continuing to evolve, and it made some big progress this year as the companies behind these platforms started joining forces. Not Qi, but PMA, and who were the other guys? There was a third one who now is wrapped up with PMA.
They're part of PMA now, so I don't recall.
And now that a lot of phones are having have chipsets for wireless charging that support both of these standards, like the Galaxy S6. Compatibility issues are becoming less of an issue. And yeah, you make a good point. Fast charging is a big draw on a lot of phones. At least people seem really upset when a new model doesn't support it or doesn't have the standard they want. That said, we do have fast wireless charging. The Galaxy S6 does this. But again, you're going to have the right. This has introduced a whole new standard problem.
S6 Plus, by the way, not S6.
S6 Plus has that?
Yeah, the Note 5 and the S6 Plus have it. The S6 and the S6 Edge do not.
See, this is a problem. Not everything is working on the same page here. I don't know if next year is going to improve the situation any. I think that the options are there if manufacturers want to take advantage of them. The question is...
The weird part is that it seems like PMA and Qi both took really divergent routes in getting their product out there. PMA went after the providers, the Starbucks and the cars and the different places. They wanted to get wireless chargers in their stores, whether or not anybody was actually using them in their phones, whereas Qi went the other route, and they were trying to push their product into phones, but then nobody had the support for it. So it's kind of like
never the twain shall meet.
It was kind of like the chicken and the egg thing. Now that the technology is there for both, I think there's a much better possibility that wireless charging, and now that we have fast wireless charging as well, I think it's poised to make a comeback, just like WebOS.
Yeah.
No, I think it could potentially make a comeback this year. It's not dead, but it's a VHS versus beta thing. So we just got to figure out which one's going to win, and then when one wins, then we'll all have it, and everybody will like it. Damn it!
Man, I still got my HD DVD player. I miss those things.
You would.
Dead formats, man. Dead technology.
Dead technology.
All right. So you got one more listener mail here. Why don't you take this one, Adam?
Oh, sure. Hi, Pocketnow from Unicorn Workhorse.
That's a great name.
It is a great word. I want to know your thoughts about the idea of Google enforcing minimum hardware standards for Android phones. For example, some standards could include 1.5 gigs of RAM, 8 gigabytes of available storage, 250 ppi screen resolution, 1.2 gigahertz processor, 1800 milliamp hour batteries, yada, yada, yada. What do you think? Would such a change produce phones like those Android One models, boring similar devices? Would it make them too pricey and too expensive? I see this as a way to help eliminate fragmentation, but then again, please speak your mind. So, because we don't always have to agree with each other. I added that last part. But personally, I think that would probably go against what Android and Google is about. I think Google is trying to push out the idea that this can be installed on just about anything. And I also think that pretty soon we're going to reach a technological point where even the crappy stuff ain't all that bad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we're already at a point where just about every phone has 1.5 gigabytes of RAM and 8 gigs of available storage. Anyway. Every phone worth buying. So, I mean, I don't think that Google would necessarily have to enforce this. I think the industry is going to enforce it for us because there's not going to be anything less than that available.
Largely, I'm with you there. I think, as I guess, answer the question straight up, no, I don't think this is a good idea. I don't think Google should do that. And my first instinct was, well, this is sort of a market-solved problem here, that a lot of the phones we're seeing are already well above these standards. But these are just the phones that we're talking about. We don't talk about the crappiest phones out there, the phones that you're going to get for $30 with a prepaid provider. And some of those can really fail to hit some key specs there. We're still getting devices with like FWVGA resolution. And is that good enough for user needs? That's the thing. I think yes, that a lot of the times you can get by with really, really bottom of the bucket here hardware. And the fact that Android can still run on these, even if it's an older version, even if it doesn't support all the bells and whistles of modern hardware does, that's still good. That gets users online, especially how this is a so much more affordable way for people to access the internet than having home broadband connection and a computer. Just getting people engaged, getting them connected is valuable enough that I don't think setting a minimum bar here for hardware that would, unfortunately, as a result, probably make things a bit more expensive, especially on the bottom end here. I don't think that would benefit the community as a whole. It's frustrating when your device doesn't support the latest apps, if you can't guarantee hardware update or software updates, or when it got 8 gigabytes of free storage. That is a pipe dream there. So I think we'll still be seeing phones with 8 gigabytes total, and you get 2 if you're lucky when it ships.
Yeah.
But we always have better options out there, and certainly as users get more educated about what they're looking for, they'll be able to choose the phone that best suits them. And again, even if you're not getting really high-end hardware at this $30, $50 price point, $100, $120, you can get a very solid phone that can run the latest software with not too many difficulties. So I would not like to see Google do this.
Okay, so we agree, but for different reasons.
Yeah, that's nice.
I like it.
Meeting of the minds here. Before we head out, let's pop back in the Q&A here for a brief moment here, see if there are any other good comments going on here. Da-da-da. I have to. If you talk to me directly, I'm nearly going to have to respond to you. Windows 10 fan is back with another comment here. Name the specs of a shank phone. Ooh.
Ooh. All right.
I'm kind of liking this Snapdragon 652 here. I think I'd go with that. 4.7 to 5-inch 1080p screen. 32 gig storage minimum. If you have that and micro SD expansion, so much the better here. I could go with a fingerprint scanner. I've been on the fence before, but I would like to have one, I think. NFC, again, I don't have much use for it right now, but why not? I like to have all the hardware options out there. USB on-the-go compatibility is a must. I love as close to stock Android as you can get. Battery, I guess 2500 milliamps would do me. How about a Dowd phone? What would that have?
A Dowd phone. Around the same screen size. I'm going to go a little bit bigger, 5 to 5.2, somewhere in that neighborhood. Probably 1080p minimum. You want to go higher than that? Okay, whatever. The camera is going to be the most important thing for me. So
I don't care about the camera.
Yeah, see, I want a Galaxy S6 camera module, whatever that is. I think it's Sony. I don't know. Anyway, whatever's in there, I wanted in my phone. Battery's got to be at least 3,500 milliamp hours, because I want a horse. What am I missing? RAM 3 to 4 gigs. Storage space 256.
Yes, there we go.
That's right.
We're making this a dream phone. Own it.
Yeah. And Android would be fine. iOS would be fine. Not
Sailfish.
Windows Phone.
It's gotta be Sailfish.
Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah, I think
All right, make it happen, manufacturers. You heard what we want here.
Done.
John Matthews talking about the new Moto X leak. On the inside, do we see a place where a fingerprint scanner could be? Yeah, we heard a rumor that Motorola could be getting back into the fingerprint scanning game. It was one of the early players that had a phone that supported this back before it was baked into the platform with that little that's top strip on the Atrix 4G. From the leak, I didn't see anything like that. But then again, there's a lot of places you can put a fingerprint scanner. I love what Sony did with the side-mounted power button scanner, even if it doesn't work as great as it could. An option, I think probably front, maybe with a home button because it's not going to have one being Motorola, but like integrate it into maybe the screen or just at the bottom there.
Yeah.
That could happen. But no, nothing on the back that we've seen. But it's weird looking hardware. I don't know, man.
A couple of OEMs are working on screen-based fingerprint sensors. So
because it's all capacitive. If you already have capacitive sensors in the screen, why not?
Just put it right there, baby.
Let's get one more here. Sebastian Chavez. Do you think HTC will make a comeback next year? What would they need to do to make this comeback?
Don't call it a comeback.
Yeah, because it's probably not going to happen. But HTC has been, for the last, I don't know, was it 3 years now? There's been this downward spiral where we really want them to do well. And the flagship One phone, it sounds really great. It looks sort of premium, and then it lets people down in one way or another. Sales never seem to be where they are. The company has months where it's doing better, months where it's not, but there's this general decline in sales. I don't know if it has what it takes to pull things around. I would love to. I think
has one job to do.
Hardware,
Don't make it crappy camera. I mean, that's all it has to do. Everything else is there. It's got all the other good stuff. It just keeps screwing up that one major thing, which is the camera. And
I don't think it's been doing its promotion job as well as it could. It's made some big missteps that Robert Downey. It's getting celebrities that aren't really clicking with its message there. It's not engaging in users nearly the way. Samsung, much less Apple.
One other thing that HTC needs to clean up from its house, it's customer service. I have never dealt with them personally, but my two on my other show, techbeard.com, my other podcast, both Ryan and Cliff have had atrocious experiences with customer service. So.
I've only had good things. HTC makes the Nexus 9. Shortly after I got this thing last year, I noticed not dead pixels, but there are a couple super hard to see, barely there dark spots in the backlight. You had to look at it under a magnifying glass to take a picture of this thing. But once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. It pissed me off. I got an RMA, sent the thing back, new one in like a week or so, no problem. Easy peasy,
Really?
lemon squeezy.
Well, Cliff
Maybe
wants
it's
your guys'
inconsistent.
number.
Yeah.
So, but anyway.
Okay. That's about all the time we have for you guys on this week's Pocketnow Weekly. Thank you so much, everyone, tuning in to us early in the week here. Ding dong, listener mail over.
Bong bong.
I assume we'll be back next week. I don't really know. Hopefully Michael will have something to say about it. Yeah, I mean, we're here every week, one way or another. Thank you to all of you who tuned in and talked to us in the Q&A. Thank you to my co-host, Adam Dow. Thank you to producer, Jules Wong. You can find these guys on social media. I am at Stephen, is that a middle initial? Maybe not. Stephen Schenk on Twitter there, at Stephen Schenk. Adam is at Dead Technology, and Jules, as always, is at Greenpoint0. Thank you to our sponsor, Scotty Vest, purveyor of fabulous multi-pocketed mobile electronics-friendly wearables. Well, wearables in a different kind. And and tune in next week for Pocketnow Weekly 181. Until then, everyone, enjoy your holidays, whatever you're celebrating, and keep warm. Take care.
Woohoo!
Oh yeah, find us. Find us at places. There's more. I don't always do this. Pocketnow. Where is it? It's on the internet. Pocketnow.com. Pocketnow YouTube. Pocketnow Twitter. Google Plus. All the places where you find people online. Google Play. They'll be able to listen to the podcast. I don't have an outro script this week, in case you haven't clued onto that there. We threw this together in the last minute. We're everywhere. Google us. It's on the internet.
That was so great. Can you do that like every week?
And on a high note. That's how you do it, folks.
I got a thing here. Wait, I got a thing. Hang on. Where is it? Play! Play! It's supposed to go, yay!
Thanks y'all for putting up with us.
Yeah. We're still alive.